I'm in the middle of my iPod series right now where I took a month and listened to music exclusively on my iPod. And as part of that, I talked to a few different people, including today's guest, Revel. Revel is an incredible vocalist, songwriter, and artist, and also just one of the best people you could ever meet. In our conversation, we get into what it's like making stuff now for the internet with algorithms, staying true to yourself as an artist, as well as his own music festival that he puts on in Southern California. A clip from this appears in week 2 on the iPod series, but today I'm bringing you the full conversation. Let's dive straight into it. Here's my conversation with Revel. As someone who has, what is it, like 75,000 followers on Spotify?
Yeah, which is insane.
I'm curious to talk to you because you're probably the person that I personally know who has the most Spotify followers.
Dope. I'll take it.
And how do you think about putting stuff out on Spotify? Or how do you, I want to talk about algorithm stuff, but do you think does that influence how you make stuff, knowing that it's going to go on Spotify? Because I'll say for me, and granted, I'm not an artist and I don't have my own music,
sure.
But thinking for my wife, that mentality.
Faith show, everybody.
That mentality is like, okay, we're making an album, and the primary thing is either it's like she made a CD back in the day, or like, okay, we're going to make this album, and then it is also going to go on Spotify. But But the format is not necessarily like Spotify first. So how does knowing the fact that it's going to go on Spotify, does that play into it at all, do you think?
You know what's funny is I feel like it maybe would have a few years ago. There are so many streaming platforms. Hi, buddy.
Yeah.
There are so many streaming platforms that just exist now.
Yeah.
And so it's like with Spotify, with Apple Music, with Tidal, and then the 52 other ones that exist after there, it's almost impossible to like really even conceptualize who all those people are.
Yeah.
And so honestly, a lot of the time for me, it's less about, hey, I'm making my music for my Spotify audience, and more to your point, and not to get ahead of it, but it's like, as I've noticed trends, even with myself as a musician, I'm like, okay, what do people enjoy to hear from me?
Yes.
Do they enjoy a more sultry, smoky R&B?
Yeah.
Do they enjoy a super uplifting, gospel-inspired, you can do it song? A lot of the time I found that it's both. And so if you're really following the trends, you kind of have to do a little bit of all of it. And then just be consistent with whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
It's more so the game, I would say.
How often do you release new music?
I'm a hippie, so my answer probably sucks. In theory, you should be probably having some kind of consistency of schedule.
Yeah.
I have not been consistent in my releasing, but I can say that I've probably, like when I'm in a release schedule, I've probably done I have 4 albums out right now, and I think I put them out over the course of maybe 6 years.
Yeah. Okay.
So divide that up. I've done some singles for them, kind of in and out. So it's been that journey.
So with the algorithm or Spotify, the platform itself, and you recognizing, okay, this kind of thing did well, maybe I'll lean this way. That's something that I have definitely had to grapple with and figure out because I make YouTube videos.
Yeah.
And the challenging thing is it's really 2 platforms, because it's YouTube and it's Patreon.
Yeah.
And those are very different goals.
Very much so.
And
good for you for being on Patreon.
I love being on Patreon because I actually get to connect with the people who want to connect with me.
Yes.
So there can be a video that does poorly on YouTube, but it does really, really well on Patreon.
Totally.
In the form of, and how I'm gauging that is YouTube, it's not that many views.
Yeah.
But on Patreon, it might not be that many views, but I'm getting so many comments.
Yeah, the engagement's crazy.
Yes, and people are like, wow, this meant a lot. I'm really excited about this.
Yeah.
And the depth as opposed to the width, I guess, on the other platform,
So I am constantly, if I am planning out what stuff I want to talk about and like planning out the month, I'm going through this right now. Okay, do I want to talk about this? Do I want to talk about this? Do I want to talk about this?
Yeah.
I haven't done one that covers an electronic artist in a bit, or I haven't done one
Sure,
that's like
sure.
a classic like funk or soul. I should cover that, or making sure that I'm, I don't know, covering all the bases, or
Yeah.
like,
Hitting all the niches.
yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
And sometimes it's good to have balance and have that push me, but then other times, I guess it's difficult with like the inspiration to be like,
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to.
And I was
do
going to
this
say,
right
it's
now.
so interesting to even move that over to the music space because honestly, and I was just talking to a buddy about this the other day, our job as musicians and on a grander sense as creatives, I feel, is to, yes, respond to not only our audience, but the grander audience at large, just the world that we live in. But I also feel like our job is to be a little bit ahead of what's going
Yeah.
on. Because I say this all the time, if you're writing a song based on what you're hearing on the radio, then you're probably late.
Yeah.
Because those songs were written a year or 2 years ago. And so now those artists are already creating new music, mostly geared around a new sound.
Yeah.
And so it's almost like our job as artists, to be specific to what I do, is to be so authentic and tuned into yourself. And then to create from that space and then lead. If that is a sound that people love, then dope, you can lean into it. But sometimes it's also doing something that's completely different with so much conviction.
Yeah.
Because the people that found you because of that conviction in the first place.
Yes. Yeah. And actually, exactly to your point, when I feel stuck with, like, I do one video a week, but I research through and dig through at least like 5 a week to go, what is there something here? Is there a spark here? Something that I'm going to get excited about that's going to make a good video out of. And I'm not just like trying to cover everything, but waiting for whatever the interesting spark is. And then what I will do is, if I have nothing, then I will go revisit my older videos to be like, well, people really loved these.
Yeah.
How can I channel that energy again?
Totally.
Yeah, okay.
Well, and even that, not to build a house on that thought, but even that is interesting because you're right. There is an element creatively, right? Where when you are creatively tapped out, when you are creatively like blocked and hitting that wall, you can go back. And that's the beauty of releasing, where you need to just put the freaking songs out, because then you can come across what has worked before.
Yeah.
And also see in you what has worked even with you as a creative. Like, I'm sure when you're looking at videos, it's like, oh, I enjoyed making this thing about Al Green.
Yeah.
Because I enjoy that kind of music. And so that can kind of remind you of that. But again, it's tough because I think when you're there in a music space and in an artist space, then you're almost, there's other stuff going on.
Yeah.
When you're in a place where it's like, oh, I'm just blocked. Well, it's like, okay, well, now you just need to figure out how to unblock yourself.
Yeah.
Which is a different thing.
Yeah. I want to talk to you about platforms.
Okay.
So I'm now in 2024, it's easier than ever to record music, to make music, to put music out.
Yeah.
And like, I'm making, this is on my phone right now. Like,
Which
we're
is
recording this.
stupid.
This is like super easy.
Buy a camera, they said. It'll be cheap, they said. Jesus.
Yeah. But music specifically, like, it's gotten so much cheaper and easier to do.
Yeah.
And then putting it out, like, you don't have to press a record anymore. You don't have to make CDs.
Yeah.
You can just release it digitally. So now there is a whole lot more of that, but I feel like the flip side of that is because there's so much more noise to have to cut through.
It's crazy, bro.
So how do you grapple with cutting through the noise?
Cutting through the noise is such a weird part of what we do because it's so integral, but if it's too integral, it like poisons the entire experience.
Yes.
If the only point of what you're doing is to like be louder than, then that's what they're going to see, is that you're loud.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think for me, and excuse the hippie answer, but for me, I think it's looked like, on the onset, at least in the beginning of it, it looked like not caring about that. It looked like keeping the main thing, and really discovering like, what is my most authentic sound? My first album that I released was called Church Boy. And I'll never forget making that project, coming from a church background, assuming I was going to get a lot of support around it, right? All these musicians that I have, all these spaces that I've been in. I'm a PK, a pastor's kid, so like that's a thing. And when I started telling people about it, I was cautioned away from it. Immediately, everyone said, don't name your album that. Don't have a song called Church Boy. You're going to pigeonhole yourself into only being known as this thing. And I remember being really confused, because the album is not a worship album. You know, it was just my experience about being a boy that grew up in church. But people were so afraid of the box that I was putting myself in. And it became my job to go, well, I'm not. And maybe you don't see it, but I see my vision with clarity. So I'm just going to do that thing, and then hopefully find the audience that wants to hear this sound. And that's what I did. I put it out, and the album is very eclectic. It has gospel elements, but it has rock elements and pop elements and singer-songwriter stuff. And it wasn't, you know, I was super unsigned, and it was this whole thing, but it really found a crazy audience. And even now, again, multiple projects later, I'm so happy that I learned that lesson very early, because it's now created a space for me where I have an audience that, for better or for worse, likes what I put out, period. So it doesn't really matter what I do, because they're here and bought into me.
As opposed to you leaned one way because it was popular, and then now you're stuck doing that thing, which is not actually what you want to be doing.
There are so many, another version of this, a lot of artists, especially when we were coming up, were doing the cover thing. The YouTube cover singer thing was huge, but all my friends that were in that space would share with me how hard they struggled to be an artist. Most of those YouTube singers have albums out that people don't know about, because they want to hear them sing a top 40 record. You know what I mean? So it was a longer road, but I got to do what I want to do, and I'm still doing it. And that's dope.
And Beyonce's last album, she has a song on it called Church Girl. So,
which, I mean, clearly I was ahead of the curve. Beyonce called me, I cleared it, it's fine.
Do you...
That's so funny. Sorry, I just thought about that. That's hilarious. Sorry, go ahead.
What do you... I'm just curious, what do you think of as your primary online platform?
I guess technically it should be Spotify, because that's where I have the most engagement. I put the most of my time into Instagram, just because I think it's the one that I, like, when I was in college, that's what I was on. And so that's kind of where I've built my kind of life. But Spotify is definitely where I get the most engagement, for sure.
Do you see? I mean, you get listens and you get streams and you get pennies on the dollar, or tenths of pennies on the dollar.
Wow. A Big Mac and a smile, truly.
Does that translate, your Spotify engagement, does that translate elsewhere to either Instagram or to your own website or to a live show? Or are those things kind of separate?
What I will say that Spotify, I think, has recently done really well. And it's hard when you're more on the independent side, because you can't always take advantage of everything. But Spotify has created a space where you can put where all your shows are. If you sell merch, you can put your merch on your Spotify page. And so even I have underutilized some of the spaces that it does provide. But having said that, not necessarily, no. I think a lot of the time, because Spotify is so personal for people. And so it is kind of just like, make a playlist and forget. And so the coolest thing for me has been seeing all the wild names of playlists that my songs have been on. That's been really cool. And seeing how people are just kind of using it in their day-to-day life. Every now and then, you'll get the the person who was a big enough fan that had the courage to DM you on Instagram or something, and that's always fun. But for the most part, there's not really a lot of crossover.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because this is what I'm noticing and exploring right now is that the internet, like we're in a big shift.
Yeah.
And
so annoying.
So many platforms are like the walls are getting a little bit higher.
Yeah.
And it's a little harder to get people off of the platform.
Yes.
Because I am on Instagram as well, and for myself, but then also digging the greats, and I'll make reels and I'll post them, and it doesn't do a whole lot. And the weird thing is like I can make a 15 or 20 minute video and I'm like, okay, great, I feel great about this.
Crush this.
And then it comes down to like, okay, let me make a 15-second, and it takes me almost as long, and I feel terrible about it. I'm like, this sucks, and it performs terribly.
Yeah.
And there's not a whole lot of benefit to doing it. So I've been lagging a little bit on it, on making stuff and posting it on Instagram.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, what am I getting out of this?
Yeah.
And what I see, this is a whole sidebar tangent, but what I see happening with Instagram creators, and it's the same thing with TikTok, you get a lot of views, and then it feels really good, and it feels like, all right, cool, I'm reaching people. But there's no monetary anything to back that up, which is fine. Not everything has to be monetized, but
rent is due.
Yeah,
rent is still due.
Yes, and like the amount of time that it takes, and I don't know, it's a strange shift, and especially like on YouTube, there's the partner program, so there's ads attached to it.
Yeah.
But I've had multiple people contact me and ask for my help because they were on Instagram and they had paid them for a little bit, but it was like a limited fund.
Yeah.
And then the fund dried up.
Sure.
And then they're not paying people beyond that. So they're like, yeah, I was making, a couple grand a month.
Yeah.
And then now that
For a
turned
month.
off. Exactly. And now it turned off, and now I don't know what to do.
Yeah. But you know what? And it's maybe strange, but I have found that specificity matters so much in these social spaces. So like with me with Instagram, I, like the old fogey that I am, dodge TikTok so hard.
I can't do it.
I just can't. I can't do it. But in not doing it, I had to own that if I want big numbers, if I want viral moments, TikTok is the place for that right now. Yeah. Instagram is no longer the place to surprisingly go viral.
Yeah.
That's not how the algorithm's designed, no matter what they're trying to tell us right now with all of these things and reels, whatever. The reality is Threads, whatever. The reality is Instagram is not that. That is now TikTok.
Right.
What Instagram can be, and the way that I've tried to utilize it, is an incredible digital resume. It has, even though it hasn't been paid out via Instagram so many times, the amount of work that I've gotten through Instagram is through the roof, because it's such a great place to go. And with a resume, even if you put your photo on it, whatever, or EPK, you can put hyperlinks, but there's something about Instagram, and I'll even say a little bit above TikTok. I think TikTok is a little familiar, which is why it's so easy to go viral on it.
Yeah.
But there's an officialness to Instagram that, like, I'm like, hey, if you want to see who I am as a human and artist and where that intersects, here's my IG. Check me out. You'll see some photos. You'll see some performance videos.
Yeah.
You'll see me talking about some stuff. And that's great. I think we keep wanting everything to be everything, and it's not. They're different spaces completely. Same with Twitter. Twitter is, I was never really on Twitter like that, X now, whatever. I was never really on it, and so I was a little late, but what I have recently learned is Twitter was a place, it was almost a think tank.
Yeah.
Twitter was the place where if you wanted to intellectually connect, and not to put standards on it, but if you wanted to know the way someone thought, what their views were, well, that's how you knew what people stood for.
Yeah.
And so I think we lose it when we try to make all these social mediums be the same thing. They're different. If you can lean into the differences, you win.
Yeah. Does the like I've noticed a shift. It's talking about how the internet is changing.
Yeah.
And not only walls going up, but a shift of like organic reach. So it started back in the day with Facebook, and it was if you had a page and people liked that page, then anytime you posted something, people would see it.
People saw it.
And then now it's like
What a concept.
and now it's like organically, it's like 1%, I think, of people who follow your page will see the post.
Which is insane to me.
Unless you pay for it, which I get they're running a business, but it's a little bit of a bait and switch. And I'm starting to see that happen on Instagram because there's posts of yours that I have not seen.
Oh my gosh.
And then I'll go to your page and I'll be like, what? I didn't know this was happening.
Yeah, man. It's even to the Spotify thing, like you have, and Spotify will try to, artists you follow release a song today or whatever, but even there, like it's so hard to the people that have chosen to engage with you sometimes.
Yes.
It is so hard to still reach them.
Yes.
It's ridiculous.
And I play the same game, and I feel like you have to curate it or shape it to the algorithm and to know like, oh, this kind of thing is going to do well on whatever this platform is. And because I have to play that game in the form of titles and thumbnails, because I can make the most interesting video that's like, I pour my heart into it.
Yeah.
And if the title and thumbnail are just kind of like, blah, like, it doesn't matter how many...
wild. But
yes, it doesn't matter how many subscribers you have, even though those people are like, yes, I want to hear from this person.
Yeah.
It's not actually surfaced to them.
Yeah.
Which because we're talking about Patreon, that's the incredible thing about Patreon, is that then people get a notification in the app, or they get an email that, hey, this new thing is out. Go check it out.
Well,
so
and that was almost my
reaching
point to specificity. It's why we have to be specific. Because if you're not, then if you don't know that Instagram isn't pushing your videos to the people that follow you, well, then you would just think that nobody likes anything that you're doing. And so it's so important to understand, like there's a machine behind all of this.
Yes.
And so like I've recently been on Discord more. And I'm a gamer, so I was using the space for that. But when I started realizing, oh, wow, most of like the social media people that I'm following are pushing their Discords to their fans as a way to say, hey, come here, stay up to date. It's a low barrier to entry. You don't have to pay anything. But you can have them, sign some rules or whatever before they join your server. So there's a little bit of like a safety in those boundaries, safety in those walls.
That's a very like old internet idea of like a chat room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But to your point, it's almost like I feel like we're starting to kind of revert, because in this newness, Instagram didn't start like this.
No.
But Instagram, when you started, you saw who you followed.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And I think they all started that way until people started getting dollars in their eyes.
Yeah.
And so we have to be, again, I've said this word 30 times, but specific with what we're doing and what we're engaging with, so that we're not confused.
Yes.
And that's why stuff like this is important. Conversations like this matter, because if you don't have the information, then you just don't know.
Yeah.
No, they're not showing people your videos. They're not doing it. Let me be the one to tell you. Like, there have been so many times where I've even had to text you, like, and I hate it. I feel like crap every time. It's like, hey, a song coming out today. Check it out on all streaming platforms. It sucks, but you have to do it.
Yeah.
Because otherwise nobody knows.
Yeah.
Which is stupid.
Yeah, that's interesting about the Discord. And it is interesting seeing as these things are changing, and like Instagram, I said this in the previous video, that it started out as just purely social media and you follow the people that you follow, but now it feels like cheap entertainment with a comment section on it. Or very, very brief videos.
It's YouTube-y.
Yeah.
Honestly. Yeah.
Very brief stuff that you swipe through. And this is the same thing with TikTok.
Yeah.
And then there's comments below it.
Yeah.
Thank God there are not comments on Spotify. That would
get heinous so fast. Oh my God. Be nice to people.
Yes. But with all of these things changing, I think it's interesting to then see what the reaction the other way is with stuff.
Yeah.
Like with, hey, I'm gonna text everyone I know. I came out with this thing, and I really care about it a lot, and I want you to know that I came out with this. So, yeah.
When it's that thing too, where it's like this isn't the first time where creatives have dealt with this.
Yes.
Whether it's the Napster or LimeWire if you're a musician, or even with some of my actors friends, like streaming services.
Yes.
That completely changed.
That was the whole strike.
That was literally the whole thing. It completely changed how people got paid. It never caught up. You know what I mean? And so it is that thing where it's hard, but it also becomes an opportunity to figure out, and I think that's what you've done so well, like really figure out, how do I exist in this space that's not what I planned on, but what is.
Yeah.
So it's either, evolve or don't. You know what I mean? So you have to figure it out. And there is a way to do it. And also it becomes our job to create tables and build different routes, because it's like, otherwise you are just buying into a machine that you don't believe in, that you're miserable for, and then creating in this like really negative vacuum.
Yes. And going back to what we said a second ago, like getting really successful at something you don't like.
Yeah, which sucks. And nobody wants to do.
No.
Nobody wants to do
and
that.
it feels like I'm living the dream, because you are technically making music, or you're technically a content creator or whatever. But
what's your dream?
Yeah.
Again, specificity. It's like, if your dream is to make money, well, there's a lot of ways to do that. And if you hate this, you can make a lot of money doing something else too. You know what I mean? And that's why, for me at least, like, to the point of all of this, with navigating, finding my audience, I think my audience found me. And found the honesty and conviction in that. And so my job has been less about keeping up with the trend and more about keeping up with myself and being honest, so that when I put it out, I know that they can expect truth from me.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Separate from the internet.
Okay.
Tell me about Dayfest.
Oh, sure. Heck yeah. I can talk about Dayfest all day long. So Dayfest, honestly, and it's funny that you bring this up even in this conversation, Dayfest was born from these same thoughts. It was born from, for clarity, Dayfest is a festival that I've been putting on, a light festival in Southern California, where I invite artists that are really good friends of mine, who are so incredible. And we have a house band, and it's kind of a variety show, the old Kevin Sullivan style of thing. It's like, hey, let's get a harpist and a tap dancer and then some incredible musicians.
Yeah.
And let's all get together in a safe space on an afternoon and have a great time.
Yeah.
But I started it because I've been in LA my whole life, and I was so tired of this pay to play, we're all in a room just trying to be seen and trying to be heard thing, but no one's really paying attention, and the ambiance kind of sucks.
Which feels like an IRL version of the internet.
No, truly, it really is. We're literally going into room and cosplaying Instagram.
Yeah.
Which sucks, and I hate that. And I think for the same reason that I hated social media, I was really not enjoying live music, which I love so much.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, I have nothing but dope musicians in my friend circle. You know what I mean? We have the stuff, I have the space. Let's just try to do something. And let's take some big swings. Let's invite some people that we respect and see what can happen. And bro, it's turned into like such a cool community, one, but also like a nexus point for like all kinds of, we've had live art. We've had like a tattoo artist come.
I saw that. That's amazing.
And it was just sick. Like, we've done so much dope stuff, and we haven't had horns yet.
Yeah.
Which is easy for us. That's in our back pocket, and so it's doing stuff like that and creating stuff not even just for artists, but for people who are fans of the arts and don't know how to go in. I feel like, to your point with those walls, there is this almost barrier to entry where if you know, you know, but if you don't know, you don't know to go to Gold Diggers on a Monday night.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You don't know about these things. And a lot of the old ones that used to exist when we were coming up, the Room 5s, those jams, they're not around anymore. And so Dayfest has really been a space where people who want to come and appreciate can come and appreciate it. And then also artists who don't always have the time to put on their show the way they want to do it.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, let's do a show. Do original music. We have a house band. We'll run tracks. Let's do it legit. And it's been really cool. It's been sick, actually.
That's awesome.
It's, I think, one of the things I'm the most proud of in the last like 2 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been cool.
You're the only person I know who is doing anything remotely like that. Because, yeah, it is the pay-to-play thing. As a bass player, I have done so many of those with other people.
Yeah.
And like you said, room 5. Like, yeah, okay, I'm gonna drive all the way like downtown.
Yeah.
We're gonna upload or unload up some stairs.
Yep.
Like it's a whole thing. And then you play the set to a bunch of other people who are waiting to also play.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
And I think even in that too, like, there's something so beautiful. And as the curator of the space, it's something that I work very hard for. Like, the performers and the band are all very specifically picked.
Yeah.
Because it's that thing. It's like, no, we're all gonna like be fans of each other.
Yeah.
And it's not gonna be like some kumbaya circle. Like, no, like everyone's dope.
Yeah.
So come in with good energy and let's have a great time. And like it's been so dope. Artists have collaborated. People who didn't know each other before Dayfest have put out songs together that met at Dayfest. Like, it's been so cool. And I think it's so needed because it's either do that or keep subscribing to this thing that none of us like.
Yeah.
So if we don't like it, and we all know we don't like it, somebody has to be willing. And like you said, like, I started doing it because nobody else is doing it.
Yeah.
I was like, well, I'm down. Let's do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think doing it, especially in real life like that, and not doing I don't know if your initial thought is at all separate from the internet, but there is
an intentional separation.
Yeah, because there's so much nowadays. There's so much, or there has been so much. If you want to do a thing, do it on the internet.
Yeah.
And I think like you're doing it just in real life, and you're in this specific thing. No. Let's go opposite.
Well, and then even to on earlier points about Spotify and
good, we're going.
Engagement and all those things, as you're navigating those moments, I started to realize, like, I was getting so many comments or DMs. Oh, I wish more people knew about you.
Yeah.
I wish, and I'm like, wait, what? I have 1 million streams on this song. Wait, what? I have 70,000 plus. What do you mean you wish more people? There's a lot of you together.
Yeah.
Do you not know about each other?
Yeah.
And I started to realize, oh man, no, you don't. Because a lot of the time online, all of those streams, views, comments represent one person. It doesn't represent a collective of people.
Yeah.
Whereas in the past, radio, that represents a collective. That's a town, that's a city, that's a state, you know? Now with a view, that's one person who is listening to your song, maybe a lot of times, maybe not a lot, whatever that is.
On their own headphones, and no one else they know is hearing the song or knows that you exist.
Completely in isolation.
Yeah.
And even in that, we've become so like uncomfortable with sharing music, sharing moments, sharing emotions in those spaces. It's become this like guarded secret space thing, and there's beauty in that.
Yeah.
But I think even as an artist, I saw an opportunity to say, hey, if you're a fan of me, here's a space where you can come and take part in what I'm doing, be a fan of it, hear it as it grows, and also the live experience is so dope.
Yes.
The internet experience is cool, but it's different.
Energy. Yeah.
It's different.
For sure.
There are so many moments that I think back to on a live space that I could literally just live in forever. And I would be so happy to be in for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
So.
What I love about it too is that you're kind of making your own scene.
Yeah.
In the sense of like, hey, if you like me, come to this thing. Also, these other people are going to be there. And like, it's not even just music. Like you said, there's a tattoo artist. Like you're making your own little microculture of, hey, if you like me and you like my stuff, you should come over here to this thing. And I'm going to introduce you to my friends who you will probably also like.
You're going to dig it.
Which that is the most solid recommendation you could have. Which I would argue is the exact opposite of an algorithm.
Completely.
Because instead of just like, hey, here's a thing, don't turn it off, just keep playing.
Yeah.
You're essentially curating an experience where you are saying, hey, I think you're going to enjoy this.
Yeah.
Here is this.
Well, and it's cool too because we've done like even themed nights. You know, we had one that was an all-female card. We've done like we're planning a country one that's going to be like all country music. I have a violinist that's going to come and like
that's awesome.
And it's those little things where you can, to my point of evolution, like yeah, it's hard, and like you're trying to figure out how to cut through the noise, but what would cut through the noise for you? Like, what are you looking for? It's supply and demand, right? Yeah. Well, I'm looking for an alternative for live music that's done really, really well, that has a high standard, where I can be an adult. Yeah. I can be over 21, but at the same time, if I have a 2-year-old, I cannot be out till 2 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
Or if I need to bring them, I can set up a blanket and they can come and we can still all appreciate the space. Like, I saw that need, so I filled that need.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I have been asking people for
because you closed the book.
So I'm doing a month with just the iPod.
Okay.
And this is my second week.
Okay.
And I have the music that I have on here.
Sure.
Good
music.
It started with stuff that I already had on just random hard drives.
Sure.
And then now I'm remembering like, oh, right, I want to listen to this. I want to listen to this. On my way here, my brother sent me a couple songs and he's like, oh, check this out. And they're Spotify links.
Yeah.
And I couldn't open them because I don't have it on my phone anymore.
Jeez.
So I was like, you know what? I'm going to write this down for later and I'll check it out on iTunes.
Yeah.
And with that, I'm asking for human recommendations.
Oh, wow. Look at you.
Is there an album that you would recommend to me? You see, the difference is of all the people that I am asking, you know me well.
Yes, I do.
So what would you recommend that I put on my iPod and listen to?
Wow. All right.
That I may not know.
If there was anything I wish I was prepared for, it was this question. But what should you download on your... Can I give you artists?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
I'm going to write this down.
Yeah. So there's an artist, her name is Lizzie McAlpine.
Oh, yeah. Lizzie McAlpine's great.
Okay, so then you already are aware of her then.
I am vaguely familiar with her. If you recommend a specific thing, I will absolutely.
She put out her album recently, but there's an album before that. And you know what? Hold. I'm going to look it up so I can say it on the camera. Ooh, Lizzie's so good. What I love about Lizzie is her songwriting is the best version of that kind of songwriting, in my opinion. It's so intentional. Oh yeah, here it goes. The album is called 5 Seconds Flat.
5 Seconds Flat. Okay.
By Lizzie McAlpine. Some incredible songwriting. Like, and the vocal is great. Her voice is insane, but what's cool is that there's a marriage between vocal and songwriting where I can understand, again, to her audience, like, they're bought into who she is and how she says it, which is really, really great. So that's awesome. A little bit left of your taste, though.
Sure.
Okay. There's a guy named Channel Trey.
Okay, I do not know Channel Trey.
Heck yeah. CHANNELTRE.
Okay.
He is like more of like a DJ, kind of like house R&B mix out of South Central.
Okay.
He's done some collaborations with people that you're definitely going to know. You're going to dig him a lot.
Okay.
Like really, really experimental stuff. But it's cool because his sound is rooted in things that you can tell he grew up listening to.
Yeah.
As opposed to like the reference playlist. Thing.
Yeah.
That gets old very fast. So, yeah.
Okay, all right. Lizzie McAlpine and Channel Trey.
Yeah, I feel good. I killed that.
All right.
I was very worried.
Great. I can't wait. All right. If I'll give you the floor if you have anything else you want to say.
Oh, hilarious.
This has been fantastic.
Thank you, brother.
Where can people find you on this internet?
And should I say this to the camera or should I say this to you?
You can say it to the camera.
Great. Thank you guys so much. My name is Revel Day. If you want to find me anywhere, it's Revel, REVEL_Day, DAY, on all social media platforms. Check out my music on Spotify and stay tuned. New music coming real soon.